wondered about the person behind the science? Stephen Hawking was born during World War II into a family of eccentric intellectuals. And during his lifetime as a British professor, scientist and author, he worked to make science accessible to everyone. However, his life and his path into academia were not without struggles. A family friend said that the Hawking family were an interesting bunch. They kept bees in the basement, made fireworks in the greenhouse, ate meals in silence, each reading their own book separately, and drove an old taxi cab as the family car. During this video, I will read to you a snippet from Stephen's 2013 book, My Brief History. And if you want to buy it, I've put the link down below in the description. In my last year at Oxford, I noticed that I was getting increasingly clumsy. I went to the doctor after falling down some stairs, but all he said was, "Lay off the beer." I became even more clumsy after moving to Cambridge. At Christmas, when I went skating on the lake at St Albans, I fell over and couldn't get up. My mother noticed these problems and took me to the family doctor. He referred me to a specialist, and shortly after my 21st birthday, I went into the hospital for testing. I was in for 2 weeks, during which I had a variety of tests. After that, they didn't tell me what I had, except that it was not multiple sclerosis and that I was an atypical case. I gathered, however, that they expected it to continue to get worse, and that there was nothing they could do except to give me vitamins, though I could see they didn't expect them to have much effect. I didn't ask for more details at that time because they obviously had nothing good to tell me. Not knowing what was going to happen to me or how rapidly the disease would progress, I was at a loose end. The doctors told me to go back to Cambridge and carry on with the research I had just started in general relativity and cosmology. But I was not making progress because I didn't have much mathematical background, and anyway, it was hard to focus when I might not live long enough to finish my PhD. I felt somewhat of a tragic character. I continued to get worse, and one of the symptoms of my progressing illness was prolonged choking fits. In 1985, on a trip to CERN in Switzerland, I caught pneumonia. I was rushed to the hospital and put on a ventilator. The doctors at the hospital thought I was so far gone that they offered to turn off the ventilator and end my life. But my wife refused and had me flown back by air ambulance to a hospital in Cambridge. The doctors there tried hard to get me back to how I had been before, but in the end they had to perform a tracheotomy. Before my operation, my speech had been getting more slurred, so only people who knew me well could understand me, but at least I could communicate. I wrote scientific papers by dictating to a secretary, and I gave seminars through an interpreter who repeated my words more clearly. However, the tracheotomy removed my ability to speak altogether. For a time, the only way I could communicate was to spell out words letter by letter by raising my eyebrows when someone pointed to the right letter on a spelling card. It's pretty difficult to carry on a conversation like that, let alone write a scientific paper. However, a computer expert in California heard of my plight and sent me a computer program that he had written. This allowed me to select words from a series of menus on the screen by pressing a switch in my hand. When I have built up what I want to say, I can send it to a speech synthesizer. One's voice is very important. If you have a slurred voice, people are likely to treat you as mentally deficient. The synthesizer was by far the best I had heard because it varies the intonation and didn't speak like one of the dialects from Doctor Who. When I came out of the hospital, I needed full-time nursing care. At first, I felt my scientific career was over and all that would be left to me would be to stay at home and watch television, but I soon found I could carry on my scientific work.